Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Hey, welcome into another edition of the Gen Existentialists. My name is Scott.
I'm Bunny.
And we're here with you for the next 20 or so minutes talking about all kinds of different stuff from a Gen X perspective. We will be spinning on Mega Wheel the Magnificent, and we've been talking about email addresses for the show. Just hit us up at whatever website you pulled this down from right now, because we're still trying to get that figured out.
Yeah, you can find the email link below and wherever you pulled down this podcast.
Absolutely, and we are spinning Mega Wheel the Magnificent, our Mega Wheel of topics, over 500. If you've got an idea for us, again, email us, let us know. And this is going to be a great one. And Bunny will start us out. And if you could see him right now, this isn't a visual podcast, but if you could see him, his eyes are closed. He's almost kind of doing the meditation thing, like preparing himself.
I'm waiting to be hit.
Getting centered. What do you enjoy most about your career?
What do I enjoy most about my career is the fact that, well...
What do you do first?
What do I do for a career? I am a professional video editor. So I spend most of my time in a studio staring at computers in the dark. I put together everything from professional video and film, music videos, educational projects, kind of runs the gamut. I've been editing for close to 30 years now. So it's been a while. What I enjoy most about my career is now I work independently. I am a freelancer, and I work for a number of companies. So I work from home. So outside of my career, I love the fact that I have the freedom to work when I want and sleep when I want and do what I want, which is wonderful. As far as editing goes, what I love about that is that people don't realize that if a project or if a video that you're watching is edited correctly and well, you don't even notice it. You want to talk about, there's always like, the man behind the curtain or whatever. I feel like that's what editors are. They keep things flowing. They control the narrative much more than an actual video of an event does. We can show it from any perspective to create any kind of emotion that the client requires. It's an interesting position, and it helps you to understand the propaganda that floats around in the world nowadays.
How so?
Because when you're actually creating it yourself, you know how the donuts are made, as they say. So
you know how to pull strings and tweak emotions
sure.
Just simply by how you place things.
If I add a piece of music, I can get you to give me money. If I show something from a certain perspective and cut out the other people, I can get you enraged, or I can get you, feeling super emotional about a topic that really doesn't warrant that.
Yeah.
I can control the pace at which your mind processes the programming, and it's kind of a techie gig, but it's kind of fun. I was telling Scott earlier, we were having a discussion over lunch and talking about the way creative minds work, and I said my mind is very much like a cobweb with a million points of light that are constantly firing off ideas, but they're not in any sort of linear order. So I have to put them together before I can really express them. And that's exactly how editing works nowadays. When I started editing, I used to do it in a linear fashion. I worked on tape. I cut film, celluloid, and spliced it.
And that makes sense. And that's something I was going to bring up, is that you've kind of traversed a lot of technological advances in your career that have probably affected your viewpoint a lot more.
Yeah. Before, it was hats off to to editors, pre-90s editors, because they did a heck of a lot of heavy lifting. There was a lot of physical pieces of media that they had to physically stick together, a lot of audio that they had to noodle with to get it in the right spot with the invention of nonlinear editing systems, like your Premiere, Vegas, stuff people might be familiar with out there, iFilm, stuff like that. It's so much easier now, and it is just taking non-congruent ideas and pictures and putting them in whatever order you or your client wishes to create a story. So that was a long way around saying that I enjoy putting puzzles together in my mind and making them visual.
And see, for me, I equate that to like mixing music, and also editing books, like for other people, not for myself, which I just finished a project editing a book for a mutual friend of ours. And it's always, for me as a writer, it's always interesting to work on that other side where it's not my material, it's not my ideas, but taking it and helping, for me, the author, for you, producer, writer, whoever put the project together, helping take their vision and make it razor sharp, to sand off the rough stuff and get it shining and gleaming, and this is the best it can be.
Yeah. I think I was talking to a client recently about a very large labyrinthian project, and I kept trying to instill to her that you're the one telling the story, but I'm the one that's going to be the bridge to get your ideas from fantasy to reality. Yeah. That's what I like. I like being that bridge.
Yeah.
Now, when it's my project that I'm coming up with, boy, you can really spiral around and noodle and navel gaze and really worry about things, being just perfect. But there's a certain kind of pressure when another professional comes to you with something that you couldn't care the least about personally, or something that you have no prior knowledge about. I've edited programs, everything from industrial seeding equipment for, applying grass to the sides of highways, to gross anatomy, autopsy footage. We've done actual films, music videos, technical junk about how to catalog books in a giant, Library of Congress style. You don't know what you're going to get each week, which makes it interesting. And also it lends a little bit of, I don't know, you have to be flexible.
And you have to be able to think on your feet.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit of pressure when someone who knows everything about a topic comes to you and wants you to put it all together for them.
Yeah.
Because those professionals out there have their own expectations.
Sure.
And you have to live up to those. And I appreciate working in an environment where you're working with competent people who have a vision. It's much different than some of our first jobs back in the days of being, public servants or whatever you would call them, a service industry, like working in restaurants or working in, retail shops, whatever. So I'm going to throw this back on you before I blather too long. What do you like about your current career?
Well, real quick, a comment on that is that when you are working with people that are incredibly competent, they're experts in their field, and for you, you're doing editing, if I'm doing editing or any kind of consultative work, is that you don't have to direct so much. You can literally say why. Why did you choose to say it this way? What if you did this? And you just make suggestions that let the artist or the subject matter expert, they're going to make the decision. You're guiding them in the right direction based on your experience too.
Yeah, I think if there's anyone out there listening that's younger and you're still trying to figure your career out and all that, there's something to look forward to is when you do move into becoming a professional as opposed to a journeyman or whatever in your field. When you're a professional, there's this wonderful latitude you have of people just handing you something because you know how to do it.
Yeah.
And that can be anything from a plumber to an auto mechanic to a soldier
To a safety professional.
Which is what Scott is.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into one of the things that I love about what I do. I got into the field of occupational safety decades ago, when I started working in material handling out of college, because I didn't realize that a degree in English, degree in philosophy don't really prepare you for any certain career. So I ended up working in the forklift industry. I can't explain it. But I had been at the company I was with for about 2 weeks, and they decided to start safety committees. I was the newest person there, so I got plunked onto the safety committee. And this is back in the days when there wasn't an internet quite yet. I had to go to the library and look up information on safety committees. So that's how I got my start in it. Years later, when I got out of material handling, I became a regulatory compliance officer. I was an OSHA safety compliance officer for about 7.5 years. And one of the things that I realized pretty early on is that it's a very specialized profession. You will find people that know a lot about occupational safety, occupational health. Some people know a lot about both. Environmental is a concern. I am more directed at safety, but I know a decent amount about the rest. And I've been doing it so long at this point that I am a subject matter expert. Like, if you come up to me and ask me how this particular machine should be guarded, the first thing I'm going to do is turn around and say, what are you making with the machine? What type of material are you using? Because one of the first things, and this is giving advice to younger folks, don't immediately jump on a project and assume that you know exactly what's going on. Because it can be like guarding a press brake, for anybody that knows what a press brake is. There are a lot of different ways you can do it, but it all comes down to the application. What kind of metal are you bending? How big is it? How extensive is the workload? Where are people going to be standing? Are there pedestrians around? There's a lot that goes into it. And guarding of a machine, there's no one size fits all. It all depends on asking questions. So you've got to be able to work with people. And from a safety professional's point of view, the other thing would be incidents, because a lot of your job is taken up with incident investigation. You can't go in pointing fingers. Whatever profession you're in, if you're upset about something, how it's turned out, how a project is going, the last thing you ever want to do is go in with this ideology like you're a big football coach and you're just going to scream at people. It doesn't work. It's just not effective in a professional setting. You look like you're just chomping at the bit to say something.
No, I was just going to agree with the idea of, I think all of us our age are guilty of going into our first jobs thinking, oh, I've got all these great ideas that can totally improve the way you do things.
Yeah.
Gen X had the advantage of growing up in a world before computers really took over. So we were sort of right in there with the pioneering of websites and spreadsheets and all that jazz, so we were in on that. And I think there was a lot of hubris going in as youth.
Oh, yeah.
That, well, you old fogies, I can teach you how to make this website better, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, that's something that I think younger people just have to grow through. It comes with wisdom that you can glean so much more information just being a part of the machine for the moment.
Yeah.
Understand how the machine works before you try to tear it down.
There are two words that I will point out. One is the strongest word in the English language. The other is the most important word in the English language. The strongest word in the English language is no. For example, if you're working a job and someone, your supervisor, tells you to do something that is potentially hazardous, say no. And legally, you have the right to say no and not accept hazardous work. You do. Look it up. It's out there. The second one is the most important, or the other word is why. Most important word in the English language. because that's how you figure things out. If I see something that's wrong as I'm doing my job, there's a guard that's not attached to a machine properly, it's not going to help to point fingers at people. It's not going to help to figure that out. I want to know why it ended up like this. Was somebody trying to clear a jam and they hadn't been trained in the proper jam clearance methods? If they have, if that's the case, we've got a training issue. Next, you find out, okay, why do we have a training issue? Is it systemic, or did someone slip through the cracks? And every stage along the way, you're asking why. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Eventually, whether it's through a 5 why, or if you end up having 23 whys, you get down to the root cause and you figure it out and you fix that so it doesn't happen
I'm 50
again.
years old and I still keep asking why.
Yeah, why? Yeah, it's just
why, God, why?
It's just part of everything. But I think ultimately that's the thing I enjoy most about my career, is that it's constantly investigating, it's constantly improving, trying to make things safer and better. Even if I tick people off along the way because I simply won't accept their excuse that, it's not feasible to do that. That'll take too much time. That's not an excuse to me. It's going to cost so much to guard that. That's absolutely not an excuse to me. Well, how do you know? Because I was a regulatory compliance officer, and I can tell you that if I came in here with my badge and you told me that, I'm probably writing a willful citation instead of just a serious one. And thankfully where I work, that doesn't happen much. People don't want to do stuff. That's going to be anywhere. So there's constant frustration, but being able to help and investigate things would be mine. So we've talked a lot about that. Do you want to do a quick shot topic to run things out on this episode?
Let's go ahead and end on a note.
This will be a quick shot. You get maybe a minute and a half.
All right. Well, it's just like the presidential debates.
Spinning the wheels. Wow. Okay, this has to be quick because this could be like 3 episodes. What do you want people to remember about you after you're gone?
I want people to remember how much I loved them and how much I loved the world.
That's perfect. And I can't disagree with that. I'd like maybe somebody to remember that I was a decent bass player, but that probably won't happen
the
anyway.
sad thing is that most people will probably remember me as the guy who made too many poop jokes.
Hey, that's a valid way to be remembered, though. Not that not that there can ever be too many poop jokes or too many fart jokes.
That's true.
Because, again, that's ingrained in the DNA,
That's true.
That'll do it for this edition of the Gen Existentialists. We were sailing along really, really nicely. Having that last topic come in probably wasn't a good idea.
You got to bring people back to earth now. Come on.
Bring it back down to the common denominators.
Exactly.
Poop jokes.
They're great.
Nice. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, if you got questions or comments, hit us with the email that's on the site wherever you picked up this wonderful podcast. And we'll catch you again next week. My name is Scott.
I'm Bunny.
Have a good one.